So I'm going to be honest right up front, I've seen way too many folks try to save a few bucks on budget tower speakers and then end up feeling like they've bought a pair of wall-mounted cardboard boxes. The regret sets in when the bass is thin, the highs sound harsh, and you're left wondering whether you should have spent a little more the first time around. That's the exact dilemma I felt before I started looking at the SVS Ultra Evolution Titan 3-way tower speakers. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video I'm going to walk through the real-world experience of these speakers, why they might be a smarter buy than a cheap alternative, and who should actually consider them for their home audio setup. First, let's talk about the kind of room most people have when they decide they need a pair of floor-standing speakers. I'm talking about a living room that's roughly 20 by 15 feet, a typical 2-channel or 2.1 system with a sub, and a handful of pieces of furniture that will inevitably affect sound reflections. The Ultra Evolution Titan is built around a centered cabinet architecture that, at face value, sounds like a marketing buzzword. In practice, the curved front baffle does do something useful. It helps keep the sound source aligned with the listening position, which reduces the wobble you sometimes hear when you walk a few steps off the sweet spot. I tested this by playing a familiar movie soundtrack and then moving the couch a foot left and right. The mid-range stayed impressively stable, and the dialogue stayed clear. That shows the design is more than just a visual gimmick. The next piece that people often care about is the tweeter. SVS uses a diamond-coated aluminum dome, produced through a vapor deposition process. Again, this sounds fancy, but the practical upshot is that the tweeter handles high frequencies with less distortion, especially at higher volumes. I cranked up a classic rock track to a volume where most speakers start to sound shiny, and the Titan's highs stayed airy without becoming piercing. The detail was evident on the cymbal crashes and the string section of an orchestral piece, which is a solid indicator that the tweeter is doing its job without needing a separate set of bookshelf speakers for the highs. Now to the heart of the system, the quadruple 6.5-inch glass fiber woofers arranged in a force-balanced array. Most tower speakers settle for a single woofer or a pair, but SVS's decision to use 4 smaller drivers in a push-pull configuration helps cancel out cabinet resonance and provides tighter bass. In a real-world test, I set up the Titans with a modest 75-watt Class D amp and played a bass-heavy movie soundtrack. The result was a punchy low end that filled the room without the boomy quality that can make a sub feel like it's shaking the walls. The bass felt controlled, and I could hear the rapid transitions of a drum roll without the sound getting muddy. For anyone who enjoys movie nights, gaming, or even just listening to bass-rich music, that clarity is a practical benefit you'll actually notice. That said, there are trade-offs you need to consider before you click Add to Cart. The towers weigh close to 80 pounds each, so they aren't the easiest to move if you like rearranging furniture often. They also require a fairly sturdy stand or a solid floor that can handle the weight without creaking. If your living space is a small apartment with a thin flooring system, you might want to look at wall-mountable options instead. Additionally, while the high-frequency performance is clean, the mid-range isn't the most forward you'll find. In a genre like vocal-centric pop, the singers sit a touch back in the mix compared to some boutique brands that emphasize a bright mid-range. If you're looking for that studio monitor vibe where the vocal sits squarely in front, you might feel the Titans are a little conservative. Another practical point, the acoustic chambers inside the cabinet are individually tuned, which is a nice touch but also means the speakers benefit most from proper placement. I found that backing the tower against a wall with a small gap of about 2 inches gave the best blend of depth and diffusion. Too close, and the bass started to sound overly emphasized; too far, and the imaging became less precise. So you'll need to spend a few minutes figuring out the optimal spot, which isn't a big deal but is something that casual buyers sometimes overlook. Who should buy these speakers? If you're a homeowner or a serious renter who wants a high-performance, 3-way floor-standing solution without stepping into the 7-figure price range, the Ultra Evolution Titan fits the bill. They pair nicely with a good AVR or a quality stereo amp and will deliver a full-range experience that covers movies, gaming, and a broad music library. They're especially appealing if you already have a decent subwoofer and want the towers to handle mids and highs with refined detail. For listeners who appreciate a clean, non-intrusive top end and a tight, articulate bass, the Titans will feel.